I like short stories, and I cannot lie. Hello, welcome to my channel. Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today is an announcement video for Short Story Summer. At the beginning of 2026, I was watching one of Randy Ray's videos where he was going to do the Ray Bradbury Challenge. The Ray Bradbury Challenge was for readers to pick one short story, one essay, and one poem per day, and read all three. I watched that video. I was very intrigued. I wanted to participate in the Ray Bradbury Challenge, and I started off doing all three, the story, the poem, and the essay. But the essay dropped off pretty quick, shortly to be followed by the poem. But I kept reading the short story per day because I really like reading short stories. And I have been reading a short story every day since January 1st in audio, print, or digital format. Then earlier this month, Randy sent me a private message saying, why don't we start up a short story challenge in August? And we decided to do it in August because we did not want to conflict with Shorty September. Shorty September is an event where readers are encouraged to read short books. And it might be just a little bit too confusing or too awkward to encourage people to read a short story every day and to read short books in the same month. So we picked August as Short Story Summer event. So once Randy and I decided upon the month, Randy invited some other great co-hosts. We have Brandy TheBookclectic, Crystal at Fiber Artsy, Hannah at Hannah's Books, James at Quaint and Curious Volumes, Nicky at My Messy Bookshelf, and of course, Steve Donahue, the great Saint Donahue. And we're all going to be encouraging people to read short stories in the month of August. Now, how do you participate in Short Story Summer? Well, you have to read a short story. If you do that, you have participated in Short Story Summer. But we are encouraging people to read multiple short stories. One short story per day. I have been doing this every day of the year so far, and it's not as difficult as you may think. We want people to broaden their horizons while reading too. So Randy has created sort of a challenge that encourages people to read across the spectrum of short stories. There are 5 general columns and 6 prompts per column. Now, these columns are genres, time periods, around the world, story elements, and challenges. In genres, we're asking people to read science fiction, mystery, fantasy, horror, historical fiction, and literary fiction. And going to story elements, you have things like twisted ending, child protagonist, unreliable narrator, and things like that. There will be a link in the description of this video to a Google Docs drive, and you can download this challenge for yourself. And for everyone who completes this challenge, it is a self-reported challenge. We will trust you with what you submit. Randy will put your name into a random drawing to receive a free copy of the latest edition of Best American Short Stories. The winner of the drawing needs to be in the continental US. Otherwise, Randy can't afford the postage. So you don't have to participate in the storyboard. You can read anything you want, any type of short story, print short stories, digital short stories, audio short stories. They all count. But how should readers actually define a short story? Edgar Allan Poe has his own definition. Poe argued that a short story should be short enough to consume in one sitting, produce a unified emotional effect, contain no unnecessary elements, aim toward a single artistic purpose. I don't really like Poe's definition of a short story as something that you can read in one sitting. Readers have vastly different reading speeds. There are time constraints and concerns for some readers. You may be reading in the middle of a short story and get distracted. But maybe that's not too important. But it's just the idea that you can read it in one sitting, and people's reading speeds are just not uniform enough that I like his definition. Now, publishing has its own definition. Writers and editors generally use word counts. Flash fiction, under 1,000 words. Short story, roughly 1,000 to 7,500 words. Novelette, 7,500 words to 17,500 words. Novella, 17,500 words to 40,000 words. And novella, or novel, I should say, over 40,000 words. Now, those are the boundaries, but it's really arbitrary. You can get different word counts depending on who's giving it the definition. And really, there is no correct definition of what defines a short story, what defines flash fiction, what defines novelette, or what defines novella. So, the short story summer definition for this group is, we're not the short story police. If you think it's a short story, read it and count it. You can read the shortest short story ever written, which I discovered in this book. And according to this book, the shortest short story ever written by Augusto Monterestio is, when he awoke, the dinosaur was still there. That is 8 words in English. In the original Spanish, it is 7 words. Does when he awoke, the dinosaur was still there count as a short story? I don't know. But for short story summer, you can go for it. Now, if you go for all flash fiction every day, you are still succeeding in the challenge, but maybe you should reach out and try for some longer ones. I'm certainly going to delve into the novelette territory. I might even delve into the novella territory because I'm that kind of reader. And I like reading lots of different types of short stories. So the challenge board is going to be a lot of fun for me. And as an additional challenge to all the other co-hosts, I suggested that every co-host in their announcement video give you their top 5 favorite short stories. Some of the co-hosts are getting kind of grumbly, saying it's absolute agony to pick only 5 of their favorite short stories. And you know something? I'm delighting in their agony. I hope they do put their top 5 short stories in all the announcement videos, because it could be a lot of fun to see what everyone thinks is a great short story among all the co-hosts. I wonder if there will be any duplicate favorite short stories. That remains to be seen. So what are my top 5 favorite short stories? A little over a year ago, I was working on a project. It was called The Top 25 Short Stories of the 20th Century. I went through my memory of going to university and reading short stories there, and then reading short stories on my own. And I wrote down a list of what I thought would be the top 25 short stories of the 20th century. And I read them in publication order and then ranked them. And I'm only going to list my top 5 here. And in 5th place was The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, originally published in 1990. To tell you the honest truth, when I made this list of my top 25 short stories, I did not think this story would finish this high. I was really impressed. It is a very poignant story about dealing with the Vietnam War. Now, maybe this story finished so high because I read it as almost the last short story in the group of 25. But the things they carried by Tim O'Brien did make it into my top 5. At number 4 is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, originally published in 1948. I kind of knew that Shirley Jackson would finish very high because this is just one of the best short stories ever written. It has that almost magical surprise ending. Now, of course, I read this originally in high school, but I always remembered that ending. And sometimes this short story crosses over into the horror genre. At number 3 is A Clean, Well-Lighted Place by Ernest Hemingway, originally published in 1933. There is something very poignant in this story to me of an old man late at night drinking in a cafe. He's just stewing in his life's troubles, and how comforting it is to have this cafe late at night to just be. At number 2 is A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor, originally published in 1953. I love the grandmother dealing with the misfit. I love the children. We've had an accident. And this, you have to read the short story to remember those children's outburst and how delighted they were at having an accident. But this, again, just delves very deep into the human psyche and what we think about the world and religion. But my number 1 short story, published in the 20th century, is The Garden of Forking Paths by Jorge Luis Borges. This is just a metaphysical marvel in fiction. I can't praise this story highly enough. Now, in my top 5, I really did not try to include horror, science fiction, or mystery stories. Although, as I said, The Lottery sometimes crosses over into that horror genre. I could easily do a list of the top 5 science fiction stories, top 5 horror stories, and so forth. And this does not include the 19th century. My favorite story from the 19th century, if you want to know, is Bartleby the Scrivener by Herman Melville. Okay, that is my announcement for Short Story Summer 2026. I hope there are a lot of people participating and reading short stories this August. Let us know what you think are your favorite short stories or what short stories you're going to be reading this August. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.